What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Tuesday NBA slate. We have 6 games tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. So, quite a bit to touch on. Let's get started. As always, appreciate you guys the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out the website in the description. Check out Twitter. Check out Prize Picks. That's all in the description of the video as well. Yesterday, pretty high-scoring day. It was second day in a row we've had a team miss a bunch of their starters and become really popular. It was the Hornets 2 days ago, and then yesterday it was the Rockets. So hopefully, guys got some of them in there. We did well on FanDuel, missed out on DraftKings. But let's see what tonight brings. So let's get right into it. Starting off at point guard, have James Harden at 10-8. He's coming off of a triple-double, put up 72 fantasy points in 34 minutes last night. It is a back-to-back with some travel. But don't see any reason why you can't go right back to Harden here. Price tag went up only $100. The matchup is definitely a lot tougher. The Suns have been playing much better defense than the Kings, so I don't expect the Nets to put up 136 tonight. But Harden and Irving are still going to carry the team without Durant, so I think both of them look playable. Irving was great yesterday as well, made 9 of 11 threes. He's been just scoring at will without Durant taking a ton of shots, and if he wants to, he can drop like 40, 50 every night. That talented of a player. He's also another guy that you can go to. You have Lillard sandwiched in between them at 9,700. I think I'd probably go to Harden over Lillard, but he's also in play here. And then LeBron, 10-1. The minutes on LeBron have been pretty much high every game. Almost had a triple-double last game. They're without Anthony Davis for a few weeks, so it's going to be LeBron carrying the show. So there's a ton of stars on this slate, and you can make a case for a lot of them. I think I would probably, out of the point guard options, I'd go probably Irving, Harden, Durant, Irving, Harden, LeBron, and then Lillard. For the guys in the 8K range, it's Van Fleet is 8,200. I'm not going to be getting to Van Fleet when I have Lowry 7,400, when I have some other cheaper point guards. So he's not a guy that I'll have tonight. Chris Paul is also kind of expensive at 78. The matchup is great, but there's always a little bit of a concern when he's playing with Devin Booker. I loved him when Devin Booker was out for those few games, and he really returned value, but I think I would probably go a little bit cheaper or go a little bit more expensive than Chris Paul. Morant is 75. He looks decent. The Grizzlies still banged up a bit, so we've seen them play their starters a little bit more, but they're still not a team that throws their starters out there for 35, 38 minutes. So Morant, decent. The Pelicans have been giving up a ton of points recently. They gave up like 130 plus in their most recent game. They gave up like 120 to the Pistons in their second game before that. So their defense has kind of come off the rails recently. Hamidou Diallo is 6,700. He came off the bench, which was pretty surprising because he was playing well when he was starting. But it's not like it really hurt him. They hurt him a bit in the minutes, but he still took 16 shots, had still similar usage. Price tag has come down a little bit, so if you wanted to go to him, I wouldn't, I wouldn't hate that. But I think if he's going to come off the bench again, the minutes are not going to be as high as they were when he was starting. Then you have Kemba, decent price tag, 65. You have Jamal Murray, the Nuggets, super banged up. They're going to be one of the teams to target today. Murray is definitely playable. If you wanted to go up to Murray, or I think you can make the case to go down to like an RJ Hampton at 3,400 or a Campazzo at 3,300. Both of these cheap guys are going to get like 20 plus minutes, around 20 minutes off the bench at least. They're the cheap guys that I'm considering. And then you have like Dennis Schroeder at 5,900. He looks like a decent option without Anthony Davis. But I think you can go cheap here with like a Hampton, first round pick last year in the draft. Getting playing time with all the injuries. They are without 3 starters. No Gary Harris still. They're without Will Barton for the second game in a row. And they're going to be without Paul Millsap tonight. So you're going to see Hampton see similar minutes. Maybe he'll get like low 20s. And at only 3,400 right now, we have very little value on the slate until something opens up. I think he looks like a decent option. At shooting guard, he can play Kyrie Irving, which was something I wish we could have done yesterday. He's 9,100 here against the Suns. He looks to be the best guy to pay out for at this position. Then we have Middleton at 8,000. He's slowed down a little bit. It's been Giannis who's kind of taken over the past few games, but there's no reason you can't go to Middleton without Holiday. The price tag I'm not in love with that $8,000 price tag, but I don't think many people will be, so it'll probably be low owned. Jaylen Brown looks great at this price tag. He's probably my favorite sell take based on just the fact that he's only 7,800. He's been playing great basketball all season, shooting great. Whereas like Kemba's had his struggle shooting. Tatum, he's been playing great, but he's also quite a bit expensive, more expensive than Brown, like $1,000. So I'll take some savings and go with Jaylen Brown. Beasley's been kind of hitting value, but I'm not going to play him at 7,300 against the Lakers. I would probably go to Edwards at only $6,000 instead of Beasley, or go up to Karl-Anthony Towns. So you have Brooks looks in the 5K range here. You have some decent options. You have Schroeder, Trent, Harris, Brooks. I think all these guys are in play. I think Brooks might be my favorite just based on the price tag at 5,500, and Harris a bit risky still with playing that. He's not risky, but the ceiling is going to be limited when he's playing with Irving and Harden. So I think I'd go to Brooks. You have Dort at 54. He's also in play. And then Bledsoe coming off a poor shooting game. He shot like 1 of 9 last game. He can bounce back here. And then Grayson Allen, he's been starting just because they're super injured. And he's been fine and productive. Price tag has quickly increased, though. He was 3,700. Now he's 4,700. So I think getting pretty close to in price tag to like Dillon Brooks. So I'd probably take a shot on Brooks here instead of Grayson Allen. And then for value, if Morris is in, he looks good, because if Morris misses again, then Hampton looks like a tremendous option. Campazzo looks like a great option as well. And that's kind of it here. You can look to Campazzo if there's no Morris. Small forward, LeBron James looks excellent at 10-1 against the Timberwolves. They play no defense. It should be a spot where the Lakers have control of this game even without Davis. Hopefully it stays at least a little bit close so we can get full minutes out of LeBron, but I think he should have no problem hitting value. Every star has kind of done really well against the Timberwolves. Tatum looks decent at 87, but I like Brown a little bit more just based on the savings. You can go Middleton. Kuzma's up to $7,000. No way I'm going to pay that much for Kuzma, even with Davis out. Edwards looks decent. Anderson hasn't been getting a ton of ownership, but he's been super productive. Just getting you points, rebounds, getting you some steals. He's been a great player recently. They are getting some reinforcements back, but they're still without, well, at least one reinforcement, Brandon Clark, but they're still without, like, Bane. They're still without some of the other guys that were playing, and some guys that haven't played all season, like Winslow and Jaren Jackson. I think you really can look to Dort at 5,400, but Justin Jackson is probably my preferred value play on the Thunder just because he's below 5,000. He jumped into the starting lineup and was super productive. Last game, that was coming off of another really productive game from him. So the minutes on him are trending upwards. The playing time and the production are both going up. So I feel good about playing him at 4,700 against the Blazers. I think he's probably my favorite piece on the Thunder with Diallo coming off the bench and kind of Horford's price tag going up. Now you can still make a case for like Kenrich Williams, but I think Justin Jackson looks better, just cheaper. And the Nuggets still without Dozier, so this kind of reinforces those minutes for Hampton. Power forward, we have Giannis at 11,000. He's been just absolutely killing it recently for fantasy. Triple-double last game, getting you a ton of rebounds, scoring really well, getting you blocks and steals. Just kind of been doing it all, and the minutes have been great, which is what you normally haven't been getting out of Giannis in years past. Without Holiday, they've kind of given him 36, 38, 39 minutes even in close games. So I feel like against the Raptors here, a team that kind of been up and down all season. They've been playing better as of late. I think it's kind of where I will definitely go back to Giannis against them without Holiday, just because the usage goes way up. Having the ball in his hands a little bit more without Holiday, having to make some more plays with assists, and the rebounds are going to be there against like Baines. Boucher is a great he's a great fantasy player, but he's not a great defender. So when he's out there, he should kind of be able to have his way. I think they'll probably have Siakam on Giannis to start. But we've seen Siakam get into foul trouble as well. Just think Giannis and the guy that we'll get to. I want to pay up for a couple studs today, which is why I'm going cheap with like Hampton and like Justin Jackson and Brooks. A center, like Towns looks great at 9,300. It's Towns and Jokic as the two pay up options for me. For value options, it's DeAndre Ayton at 7,100. Horford's price tag has kind of gone up. He's still playable, but it's a lot different than when he was in the 6K range. And then Boucher's price tag is also going up. Don't think I'll have him at 66. I'd probably go Baisley over Horford when he saved $900 there. And then for value, you have like Brook Lopez, Steven Adams, some like value punt play options. I probably lean to like Jordan at 4,500. Might even start because to match up with DeAndre Ayton, but we'll see what they decide to do. We'll go to Jokic here. I like Jokic and Giannis as the two pay-up options today. You have them two, and then you have Harden as the guys and LeBron as the guys above $10,000. I think can't go wrong with any of those four. I'm just leaning towards Giannis and Jokic. I think people will go to Harden, and so we could see lower ownership on like Giannis and Jokic. And it's a spot where I think Jokic can absolutely dominate this Celtics front court. They might be without Daniel Tice, and so they might have to start Tristan Thompson. But Jokic, the minutes have also been great for him. He's been absolutely killing it for fantasy all season, getting you a ton of assists recently. Rebounds have been there, scoring, playing big minutes. And without Paul Millsap, we'll probably get even more minutes here at, playing on the court. Could see him get to like 37, 38 minutes here. Just feel really good about him. I think he's on pace, or he's going to have like a big 80-point fantasy game score, 70-plus point fantasy score pretty soon. And I think it's a good spot for him to kind of make that happen tonight. So really like Jokic and Giannis to get to both of them. And then the last option here is going to be Michael Porter Jr., $5,800. Just get another piece of Denver here against Boston. He's going to play at least in the 30s minutes tonight, I would assume, without Barton, without Harris, without Millsap. He could even move down a position and start at power forward tonight. If they decide to keep JaMychal Green as a backup center, we'll see. I think probably you'll see Green and Porter both start. But Porter been struggling a little bit, but we know that he's a guy that he's a streaky player, but if he does get hot, he can put up 30. He can put up high 30s, low 40s. And it's not the easiest spot in the world against Boston, but just with the lack of bodies, I think it's definitely a spot, one of the better spots that he's had to kind of have a ceiling game. So right now, it looks like I'll have quite a bit of Denver just with all the injuries. I love to get to both Giannis and Jokic and then go with some cheaper value options like Dustin Jackson and Brooks. So that's pretty much it for the DraftKings side. Go ahead and touch on FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel here, point guard options, you have Kyrie, more expensive than Dame tonight. I'd probably go Dame then Kyrie just based on the salary difference. Like on DraftKings, I'd flip-flop them because Lillard is more expensive, but I'd still go Lillard, I think, at 95, then Kyrie at 99. Then we have Chris Paul, Lowry, Ja Morant in the 7K range. Don't have too much interest in any of them. I think Morant would be the guy that I go to just because he's the cheapest and the matchup is great. Then in the 6K range, you have Jamal Murray, who looks better than he does on DraftKings at 65. You have Diallo, who is definitely in play on FanDuel just because he's going to get you a ton of usage off the bench. $67 and $6,000 of DraftKings and FanDuel price tags are pretty different, especially when we need to get 2 point guards on FanDuel and have like 7 or 8 guys that are actually in play. So Diallo looks better on FanDuel. And then you have Schroeder at 57 against the Timberwolves. He's always benefited without Davis, and I think that won't change tonight. And then for value options, don't really have interest in Hampton now that he's on FanDuel at least at 4,200. Right now, I'm not going cheap at point guard on FanDuel. I think Schroeder looks to be one of the better guys to target just because he can show you high 30s, low 40s fantasy points without Davis, and the matchup is just really solid here. Shooting guard is James Harden. Looks great even on a back-to-back here. You have like Edwards is in play at $6,000. Van Fleet is most definitely in play at 7,500. And then we have like Dylan Brooks, 53, Dort, DiVincenzo. So on FanDuel, I definitely go Brooks over Allen. I like Dort over DiVincenzo. Then you have Bledsoe is cheap. He's been playing pretty erratic all season. So he's definitely not the safe play, but the price tag is definitely cheap enough to take a shot. And then see where they moved Bruce Brown's price tag. Didn't have a good game yesterday, but we've seen him kind of have some good games when nobody's really thinking he will. He's 48, so he's not that cheap. I'd go to Brooks again at 53. definitely a good price tag. Small forward, LeBron James, if you can get to him, he looks tremendous. If not, maybe you can get to Jaylen Brown. Maybe you can get to Middleton, who looks better than he does on DraftKings at only 7,500. Anderson looks decent. Michael Porter is 55. He looks great. Justin Jackson is 53. Williams 52. So Jackson only $100 more expensive than Williams on FanDuel. He's like $600 cheaper on DraftKings. I still like Justin Jackson a little bit more. He's just like Williams, never known to be a great scorer and high volume shooter. Justin Jackson's same kind of deal, but at least he's a guy that we've seen him make some threes back when he was with the Mavs and stuff like that. So I'd go to Justin Jackson, I think. And then for value, you have like Cam Johnson is only $3,900. His production has definitely come down recently, but he's still he's never been this cheap. Very rarely been this cheap on FanDuel, and the matchup is solid against the net. So he's a guy to maybe at least consider. But when you have Porter at 5,500, it's going to be tough for me to pass on that. Power forward, it's definitely Giannis as the guy that I most definitely want to get to. If not, maybe you can get to Tatum. Boucher is 72, so he's not a guy I'll get to. Zion's been playing great recently. And Covington, been not the most consistent. He's been playing a little bit better recently. But 65, you still going to need him to have a good game. I'd go to Kuzma, probably over Covington. I'd go Bazley over Covington. If Tice is out, then Thompson is center eligible, so that kind of sucks. And then for value, you have JaMychal Green as 4,400, assuming he starts here. In place of Millsap, he looks decent. Jeff Green looks decent at 4,700. But I will get to Giannis here at 11-2, I think. Kind of going with the similar core that I did on DraftKings, just because I'm pretty much, the price tags on Giannis and Jokic haven't really changed on both sides are kind of similar. Center, I'll definitely get to Jokic. I think it's between a few options here. It's Jokic, it's Karl-Anthony Towns just because he's cheap, and then it's DeAndre Ayton just because the Nets can't really stop any centers and he's pretty cheap. Those are the mid-price centers, and then for value, it's Harrell. Looks okay. You have DeAndre Jordan. If he's gonna start, he looks better. If he comes off the bench, I'd probably go to Adams or go all the way up. And that's it at center. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned on Twitter for any updates. If like yesterday, post my update picks once we get a lot of news in NBA, and that's been happening pretty frequently. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.